Hello, how's it going? My name is Ira, and this is Inside the Album. I'm still doing a show in its infancy, so I'm not doing full albums yet, partially because of practice reasons, and also because the albums that I'm doing right now in the 50s are typically not album orientated, it's more about songs. So we're going to start out with Elvis Presley's very first hit record. It's technically, it's not technically the first recording he did, but it's the first thing that he recorded that was released for public consumption. And it was a pretty massive hit right out of the gate. That's All Right, with a B-side of Blue Moon of Kentucky. So That's All Right was originally written by Arthur Big Boy Crudup, and it was released in March of 1949 under the title of That's All Right, Mama. When Elvis released it, it was just titled That's All Right, and he took some liberties with the song, which I'm sure nobody minded because everybody made a lot of money. So this was recorded in July of 1954 when Elvis was 18 years old. He had two backup musicians, Scotty Moore on guitar and Bill Black on the double bass. That's a stand-up bass for those of you who don't know. So he had originally recorded an album of songs for his mom about 9 months earlier, where he had paid Sam Phillips and Sun Records in Memphis, Tennessee to record the album for him. Sam Phillips liked his voice and thought that he might have some talent, and Sam Phillips was looking for a new sound, something to kind of break the mold away from the current day popular music. It was jazz, R&B, and country. So he invited him in for a recording session with Scotty and Bill, and they started just trying different things. They recorded some country songs, some R&B, even some gospel, and nothing was happening. Nothing they were recording or even performing was really doing anything for anybody. And they took a break, and Elvis started goofing around with That's All Right. And as soon as Sam Phillips and the band members heard him doing it, they said, yes, this right here, this is what we want to do. And that kind of changed the course of history. So we're going to check out That's All Right. First, let's do a little sample of the Arthur Crudup version. This is from 1949. This is well before rock and roll. Pretty much no music existed yet that was considered rock and roll. And this is just an R&B recording of a good song from the late 1940s. So let's check it out. We're not going to listen to the whole thing.
Well, now that's all right, no mama. That's all right for you. That's all right, no mama. Any way you do, but that's all right. That's all right. That's all right now, mama. Any way you do.
So a few things about this version. One, even though it was only 6 years earlier, the recording techniques were extremely primitive compared to 1954. And 1954 is the recording techniques used then are extremely primitive compared to now, 70 years later. They were recording, both of these recordings are the full band performing together. Multi-track recording existed in the 50s, but it wasn't widely used, and definitely not in a recording studio such as Sun Records, where they didn't have a lot of money. That was an RCA and the big recording companies, probably CBS Records. So, anyways, Elvis decides to, along with Sam Phillips, Bill Black, and Scotty Moore, record the song. about 6 years later, and here's what it sounds like.
Well, that's all right, Mama. That's all right for you. That's all right, Mama. Just any way you do it, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right, Mama. Any way you do.
Now, if you're a kid living in 2025, both of these recordings just sound like really old music to you. But there's a world of difference between these two recordings. The way Elvis was singing and the things that he was doing in the song were pretty unheard of, and this recording was fairly controversial when it hit the radio waves a week after they recorded it. Scotty Moore is playing his own guitar parts. He came up with a score on his own that he added to the song, and it added a lot to the music. The Arthur Crudup version is more strumming, and it's fine guitar work for the time, but Scotty Moore really spruced it up a little bit. And you might hear what sounds like percussion in the background, but it's not. It's just the double bass, the strings are slapping on the fretboard.
Well, Mama, she done told me, Papa done told me too. Son, that gal you foolin' with, she ain't no good for you, but that's all right. That's all right. That's all right, Mama, any way you do.
So a lot of Elvis recordings in this time, you hear his voice is just soaked in reverb. It's really reverberating. There's not a lot on this recording, though. So that guitar solo, that's all Scotty Moore. That's not something that he replicated from the original version. And that helped lay down a lot of the foundations for rock and roll music. Playing like that, it existed, but it didn't exist. It was kind of a take on jazz guitar, but it was definitely amped up and played with a different energy. And just everything about this song was pretty new and fresh for the time.
I'm leaving town, baby. I'm leaving town for sure. Well, then you won't be bothered with me hanging round your door, but that's all right. That's all right. That's all right, now, Mama, any way you do.
So after they got the single recorded, both side A and side B, they decided that Sam Phillips decided that he was going to take it down to WHBQ, and there was a guy there named Dewey Phillips who was not related to Sam Phillips. When I was a kid, I always thought they were brothers, but they weren't, no relation. And he had a show called Red Hot and Blue, and they were playing the hottest music of the day, which was mostly R&B. And Sam Phillips played it for Dewey, and Dewey immediately knew that this was something that was going to be a big deal. So he started playing it, and Elvis knew that this was happening, and he was so nervous that he went to a movie theater and watched a movie just to kind of take his mind off the anxiety that he was feeling over his song being played on the radio.
I need your loving. That's all right. That's all right, now, Mama, any way you do.
So there you have it. One of the very first pillars of the sound that became rock and roll. I still don't consider this to be fully formed rock and roll. I think Chuck Berry is solely responsible for that, because the guitar work, even though it was kind of revolutionary for the time in the song, I don't think rock and roll guitar was truly fully realized until Johnny B. Goode came out a couple years later. And that's just my opinion. A lot of people will maybe strongly disagree with that, but I think Chuck Berry was truly the king of rock and roll, and Elvis just got the title mostly because he was white, and therefore he had a lot of opportunities that Chuck Berry would never have on TV and radio. In fact, when they were playing the song on WHBQ, the phones immediately started ringing, and most people were saying, what the hell is this? This is awesome. I love it. But there were a lot of people who were angry about it because they thought that Elvis was black, and they didn't like the idea of black music being played on the radio station that their kids were listening to and that they were listening to. This was in the racist South, and that was a huge point of contention. Dewey played the song 14 times in a row anyways, and people were just generally losing their mind, pro and against the song. It's one of the very first rock and roll songs, and a lot of people did not like what they were hearing. So Sam Phillips goes and finds Elvis and says, hey, we want you to go down and do an interview at the radio station. Elvis agrees to do it, but he's really extremely nervous. He's a really shy kid. He's only 18 years old. He's never had any attention outside of, maybe a little bit in high school, but he was still in high school. So he goes down there, and Dewey Phillips sits him down, and they do an interview, and the microphone is on, and he's going out over the air with everything he's saying, but Elvis doesn't realize that it's actually on the air. Dewey didn't tell him that. He just thought that they were having a conversation. So Dewey's asking him questions, and one of the questions he asked him was, what high school do you go to? And Elvis responded that he goes to Humes High. This was a very calculated move on Dewey Phillips's part, because when Elvis said, yeah, I attend Humes High, that was an all-white high school. So that was kind of a roundabout way of telling everybody that this is actually a white kid. And so, don't you wear your racist little hearts out too much. We're not poisoning you with any black sounds. This is a white boy. And yeah, it was a really messed up time. So that song got played 14 times in a row that day. Elvis did the interview. After they ended the interview, Elvis then realized that he'd been on the air the whole time, and that probably caused him even more anxiety, but I'm sure he appreciated that they didn't tell him that he was on the air. And he did well with the interview because he just thought he was having a conversation with Dewey. And that was how Elvis's career got started. Now, side 2 of this album is Blue Moon of Kentucky. Blue Moon of Kentucky was a bluegrass hit in 1945 by Bill Monroe. Bill Monroe is widely considered the father of bluegrass music, and he is extremely influential just in the whole country music scene. Some people will tell you that he invented bluegrass, and that's a pretty big genre of music. He was also a cranky old feller, and when he first heard the recording, well, we'll get to that part of the story. First, let's check out just a little bit of the Blue Moon by Bill Monroe. This is in a 3/4 time signature. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's a waltz, and then Elvis, his version is in 4/4. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one it's gone and proved untrue. Blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and left me blue.
So there you go. There's nothing rock and roll about that. It's an incredible recording. I love that song. When I was a kid, we had a VCR tape of Bill Monroe performing that song on Hee Haw in the 80s, and I loved it. I watched it all the time. Didn't even know till I was an adult that Elvis had actually covered the song as the second song he ever recorded professionally. So this is side B of the That's All Right single, and this is Elvis doing it in 4/4 time, where he changes the lyrics up a little bit and makes it closer to a rock and roll song. It's still, I don't really think this sounds that rock and roll. I think it sounds more country, but it was still a little bit controversial to a lot of the country music and bluegrass purists. So here we go.
Blue moon, blue moon, blue moon, keep shining bright. Blue moon, keep on shining bright. She gonna bring me back, my baby, tonight. Blue moon, keep shining bright.
So the 4/4 timing, the more upbeat, there's that percussion sound. It's still not a drummer. They didn't have Danny Fontana, I think was the name of Elvis's drummer in the early years. I'm sure they didn't have him yet at this point. That's just the bass doing a percussion sound, and you can also hear a lot stronger reverb on Elvis's voice. You hear that slight little echo thing. That's reverb, folks.
I say blue moon of Kentucky to keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and let me blue. I say blue moon of Kentucky to keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and let me blue.
So I was doing the counting in the Bill Monroe version of the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to count this a little bit to show you the difference with the 4/4 time.
Well, the heat was on one
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and let me blue.
And also check out the Scotty Moore's guitar parts. This is obviously all stuff that he composed strictly for this recording. That was nothing borrowed from the Bill Monroe version. So it's Scotty Moore being very influential again as a guitar player.
Just keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and let me blue. I say blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and let me blue.
So upon first hearing this version of the song, Bill Monroe wasn't very happy, according to legend. This isn't anything confirmed, and Bill Monroe and Elvis, neither one of them ever confirmed this story, but more than one person has told it. Bill Monroe heard it and was very unhappy with the way somebody had, in his mind, desecrated his most beloved song. He changed the lyrics, he changed the tempo, he changed the energy, he made it sound like wild R&B, something that he probably couldn't even describe because the word rock and roll didn't exist yet. And he was complaining about it to anybody that would listen. And then the single became a huge hit. Bill Monroe didn't think much of it, but he was the sole songwriter, so that meant he was due royalties. And some weeks or months later, he got a royalty check for $15,000. In 1954, $15,000 was the equivalent of today's money of $170,000. That was way more money than Bill Monroe had ever seen in his life. He did fine as a musician. He made money. He had lots of popular songs and hits, but he made almost $250,000 on his first royalty check, in today's money. $15,000 in that time, the money of that time. So he kind of softened a little bit on that then and got a chance to meet Elvis shortly after that. And when he showed up to the studio where Elvis was working, he walked in and he had his songbook, a book with all of his songs that he had written, and he gave it to Elvis and he said, "Now you thumb through that thing, and any song you want to cover, feel free. I'd be more than happy to see you do it." So it's kind of funny how money can bring the world together in some ways.
It was on the one moonlight night, just shining bright. Whisper on high, love said goodbye. Blue moon of Kentucky to keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gonna let me blue.
So there you have it. The beginning in some people's mind, the beginning of rock and roll. Definitely early rock and roll there. That was more of a regional hit, those two songs in the Tennessee and surrounding areas. Elvis didn't have a national hit until I believe, I want to say that maybe it was Blue Suede Shoes. He recorded a few songs after this that didn't really take off and aren't as timeless as That's All Right. But then Blue Suede Shoes he recorded in 1956, and it was a national hit and made Elvis the legend that he became. And then came Teddy Bear and Hound Dog and Jailhouse Rock, and there's a list of 5 or 6 songs that he recorded that really just completely changed not just the music world but the whole country. So that is where we are with these songs. My name is Ira again. If you made it this far, thank you for checking out my video, and I will see you next time.